also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Chandna.
And I'm Hemkaur Saroy, and on the show today, in the worst terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir in recent times, a group of terrorists dressed in fatigues opened fire on tourists in Pelgam around 2:30 p.m. on Tuesday.
In light of this, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi cut short his two-day state visit to Saudi Arabia. Returning to India now, Cabinet Committee on Security is likely to take place after Prime Minister Modi arrives in Delhi. We'll bring you all the latest on this and a lot more right here on World DNA. Let's start with the headlines.
National Investigation Agency likely to take over probe into the terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pelgam district. Sources say at least 27, including 2 foreigners, killed in the attack.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi lands in New Delhi after cutting short his state visit to Saudi Arabia in the wake of Pelgam terror attack.
Donald Trump condemns the terror attack in Pelgam in a phone call with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, promises full support to India to bring to justice the perpetrators of this heinous attack.
Israel military says it most likely intercepted a missile launched from Yemen following alarms in several areas in the country.
Iran says technical expert-level nuclear meeting with the US postponed to Saturday, coinciding with the third round of indirect talks mediated by Oman.
Reports say Vladimir Putin has offered to halt Russia's invasion of Ukraine on the current front line, indicating his willingness to withdraw Moscow's claims to parts of Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson and Zaporizhia.
Elon Musk announces that he will significantly scale back his work in the Trump administration in May to focus on Tesla, after the electric vehicle maker reported 71% drop in first quarter profits.
The International Monetary Fund slashes its forecast for global growth this year. IMF cites the effect of US President Donald Trump's new tariff policies on the world economy.
KL Rahul gets his redemption in Lucknow. The 33-year-old scored an unbeaten 50 to help Delhi Capitals beat Lucknow Super Giants by 8 wickets in the Indian Premier League. Of course, our top focus this morning, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Delhi, cutting short his 2-day state visit to Saudi Arabia. This after a terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pelgam.
And this is one of the worst attacks seen in recent times. 27 people killed. These were tourists.
मेहमानों का कत्लेआम बंद करो इंसानियत का कत्लेआम बंद करो इंसानियत का कत्लेआम बंद करो हम हिंदुस्तानी हैं हिंदुस्तान हमारा है हम हिंदुस्तानी हैं हिंदुस्तान हमारा है.
The Indian Prime Minister was originally scheduled to return to India on Wednesday night. Upon his arrival, now the Prime Minister was briefed by National Security Advisor Ajit Doval on the Pahalgam attack. Prime Minister Modi is expected to hold the meeting of Cabinet Committee on Security to review the situation in Jammu and Kashmir.
Union Home Minister Amit Shah, who is currently in Srinagar to take stock of the situation, briefed Prime Minister Modi about the terror attack on Tuesday. The Prime Minister asked him to take all suitable measures to visit Pelgam. The Home Minister is likely to visit Pelgam today as well.
In the worst terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir in recent times, a group of terrorists dressed in fatigues opened fire on tourists in Pahalgam's Baisaran meadow around 2:30 p.m. local time on Tuesday. Gunshots were heard, with witnesses saying terrorists walked out of the woods and started firing indiscriminately. Visuals from the site of the attack showed bodies lying motionless on the ground and women pleading for help.
And for more on this, WION special correspondent Idris Lone is joining us live from Srinagar. Idris, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we would of course want to first understand what the security situation right now is and what's happening at the moment.
Well, we are right now standing very close to the Srinagar International Airport, and what we are seeing on the ground is a huge deployment of security forces all across the airport. We are being told that some of the top officials from the National Investigation Team might be arriving in the Kashmir Valley today, who will be also going to Baisaran, where the main incident took place. We're also hearing that NIA will be taking over this case. We've been told that the National Security Advisor has also basically given a brief to the Prime Minister about the developments that have taken place since yesterday after the attack in Pahalgam. On the ground, the situation grim. We're seeing that security personnel have been increased in every nook and corner, whether it's Srinagar Airport, whether it's the police control room where all the bodies of those tourists who have been killed will be brought back to, and the Home Minister also present in Srinagar. He has already taken a meeting with the top security officials of Jammu and Kashmir, including the Indian Army, Jammu and Kashmir Police and paramilitary forces. The Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir was also present in that meeting. He's also briefed, he's been briefed by the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir as well. Let me tell you that as you see, all the shops in the Kashmir Valley are closed today. The Business Federation of the Kashmir Valley as well as the Jammu have given a Bandh call. There's a complete Bandh all across Kashmir today. every business establishment has condemned the attack, and they have called for a shutdown. On the other hand, we are also seeing that all the schools were closed in the Kashmir division as well. The schools associations have also condemned this attack, and we're seeing that a lot of condemnation coming in from different angles, whether it's the politicians, whether it's the business associations, as well as the students' federations. Yesterday, we saw a lot of marches that were taken out in every district of the Kashmir Valley, as well as Jammu, to condemn this barbaric attack that has taken place in the Baisaran area, in which a lot of tourists.
Yes, Idris, just coming to exactly what happened when this attack took place. Now, eyewitness accounts, and these are family members of those who were killed. They have said that their family members, especially the males in their families, they were asked what religion they belong to. They were asked to recite kalmas, and when they were unable to do it, they were shot dead. Is there anything more that we know, and anything you can share on exactly the sequence of events which took place as per eyewitness accounts?
Well, Shivan, there is no doubt that the attack was very planned, and it was targeted towards the tourists who were visiting the Baisaran area. Because let me tell you that Baisaran is an area in Pelgam where you have to walk up to that place. It's a meadow where you take horses basically and then go up and enjoy the beauty of the mountains and the landscape there. So it's a very touristy place. There are very few shops which are selling like tea and snacks there, and most of the presence in that area is always tourists. So it was a very planned attack that the target of these militants definitely were tourists. But some of the accounts that eyewitnesses we have spoken also to said that clearly they asked the men, especially the tourists, about their religion, and then they took them on this side and shot them. The women were kept on the other side. That's what the eyewitness account is. However, there is no official version of the story as of now. There's no confirmation of it. But whatever we've spoken to the tourists, there seems to be no doubt about that, that the attack was planned. The tourists came down from the mountain ranges.
Yes.
It's a dense forest which opens up into the meadow where all these tourists were present. And after that, these militants basically went back into those dense forests. And it's been happening in the Kashmir Valley in the last 6 months, that the mountain range that connects South Kashmir towards the Rajouri and Poonch belt, it's the same belt. And these are what we are being told from our sources, that a group of foreign militants that have infiltrated a few months ago from the international border in Jammu, who are active in the mountain ranges of Rajouri, Poonch, as well as in the South Kashmir belt, who are carrying out these attacks. Earlier it was the security forces in the Jammu region where they would carry out these attacks and then vanish into the dense forest. And a similar act taking place, but this time extremely brutal and unfortunate. The tourists were made the victims.
And visuals of that attack, the bodies of motionless bodies lying around in that beautiful meadow, which only would attract a lot of tourists. As you mentioned, it was planned. Tourists were going to be at the end of this attack. And as you're also showing us a little earlier, that there is a complete bandh at this point, and security officials are making their way to the valley at this point. We are going to be keeping in touch with you through the course of the day, Idris, to get us the latest on what is ensuing as we continue to track this story closely. Worst attack in recent times. Tourists killed. The death toll, of course, is still yet to be confirmed officially, and this is what we know so far. All right, let's move further from here. From President Donald Trump to Russian President Vladimir Putin, world leaders have unequivocally condemned the terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir.
Now, Pelgam, this attack took place in Pelgam, in which 27 at least tourists have been reportedly killed. Several others have been injured. US President Donald Trump strongly condemned the terror attack in a phone call with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Also expressed full support to India to bring to justice the perpetrators of this heinous attack, calling the attack deeply disturbing. Trump said that the United States stands strong with India against terrorism and prays for the souls of those lost and for the recovery of the injured.
Russian President Vladimir Putin also minced no words in condemning the Pahalgam terror attack. In a letter addressed to Prime Minister Modi and President Draupadi Murmu, President Putin said, "This brutal crime has no justification whatsoever, and Russia expects that its organizers and perpetrators will face deserved punishment. Putin added that Russia is committed to increasing cooperation with Indian partners to combat terrorism in all its forms and manifestations.
Meanwhile, the Ukrainian embassy in India said that they endured the loss of life from terrorism daily and firmly condemned terrorism in all its forms, stressing that the perpetrators should be held accountable. Ukraine said when innocent people are murdered, it brings unbearable pain.
Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman also conveyed his condolences, stating that Saudi Arabia stands with India and is ready to offer any needed support. Prime Minister Modi, who was in Saudi Arabia at the time of this attack, cut short his state visit and returned to India earlier than planned. Now, the bilateral meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and the Saudi Crown Prince began with the condemnation of the attack.
The meeting began with the reference to the unfortunate terror attack that has happened in India. Both the leaders expressed their condemnation for the terror attack. His Royal Highness Crown Prince conveyed his condolences and sympathies and offered any help in this regard to us.
Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that he is deeply saddened by the barbaric terrorist attack in Pelgam, adding that Israel stands with India in its fight against terrorism. Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar condemned the attack and expressed solidarity.
Neighbouring Iran also offered its condolences to the people of India, particularly to the families of the victims, and wished for a speedy recovery of the injured. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer wrote on social media that the horrific terrorist attack in Kashmir is utterly devastating and that his thoughts are with those affected, their loved ones and the people of India.
Other European nations have also stepped in with support and solidarity. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said she is deeply saddened by the terror attack, as she expressed condolences to the families affected, the injured, the government and all the Indian people.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz condemned the heinous terrorist attack and extended condolences to the families of the victims, along with wishes for a speedy recovery for the injured. The French ambassador to India also strongly condemned the dastardly attack and said France stands in solidarity with India in this fight against terrorism.
With global support in its fight against terror, India's pledge to avenge the cowardly attack remains undeterred, with forces going all out to neutralize the perpetrators. Now, as we mentioned earlier, sources say that at least 27 people have been killed in Pelgam terror attack. Let's now tell you, the terrorist attack in Pelgam is part of a meticulously orchestrated conspiracy by Pakistan.
According to intelligence sources, banned terror outfits such as Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed have been mobilized to form compact mobile strike teams, now targeting innocent civilians, as we've seen in Pelgam. Today's assault, this is of course the assault which took place yesterday at 2:30 p.m. local time. It appears it was timed deliberately ahead of the Amarnath Yatra with the clear intention of instilling fear among devotees and tourists. The registration of the Hindu pilgrimage has begun and the Yatra begins on the 3rd of July. A similar attack was recently executed in Sonmarg, further underscoring this pattern.
Post-attack assessments point to the growing threat posed by the Falcon Squad of the Resistance Front, which could emerge as a formidable challenge in Kashmir in the days to come. This unit is highly trained in precision-targeted killings and evasion tactics, disappearing into dense forests and rugged terrain after carrying out strikes. Sources indicate that the Falcon Squad of the terror group has recently been supplied with a significant cache of advanced weaponry, which is now being deployed in their attacks.
According to intelligence inputs, the group has also intensified its recruitment drive via social media platforms, luring in youth and then radicalizing them. It operates on a hit-and-run model and maintains close coordination with overground workers for logistical support and intelligence gathering.
TRF is effectively a shadow wing of the terrorist group Lashkar-e-Toiba, and the Falcon Squad acts as its specialized strike arm. Senior Lashkar commanders are reportedly giving direct orders for these attacks.
In a stunning reversal of historical infamy, the Taliban, once global symbols of cultural destruction, are now donning the mantle of heritage custodians.
The very group that declared war on Afghanistan's ancient past is now overseeing archaeological digs and issuing statements on the duty to preserve its rich culture. Take a look.
In 2001, the Taliban shocked the world by blowing up the giant Buddhas of Bamiyan. This hollowed-out mountain is what remains of the 6th century monumental Buddhist statues. 2 decades on, the Taliban government trumpets its efforts to safeguard millennia-old relics, including pre-Islamic treasures. The recent discovery of Buddhist statuettes in Ghazni underscores this supposed commitment.
There were 3 statues among these artifacts, and these 3 statues are pre-Islamic, and they are professionally and properly being protected in our depot with other artifacts so that they are not destroyed.
In Laghman province, the Gawarjan village reveals niches carved into rocks, thought to be storerooms from the Kushan Empire, which once stretched from the Gobi Desert to the Ganges River. Brahmi inscriptions.
Whatever has been left for us in inheritance from our ancestors during 5,000 years of history, that is our culture. Whether it's from Buddhism era, Islamic era, or any era. Its artistic value and historical precedent is important for us.
However, critics remain wary. Is this a genuine embrace of Afghanistan's diverse past, or a cynical ploy to gain international legitimacy and attract tourism revenue? The world watches, questioning whether the Taliban's actions align with their words and whether ancient treasures will truly be safe under their rule. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
And Russia has intensified its bombing campaign across several Ukrainian cities.
Ukraine says a woman was killed and at least 22, including 3 children, were injured after a Russian strike on the city of Zaporizhia. As Ukraine prepares for ceasefire talks with its Western allies in London tomorrow, Moscow weighs offering skyscrapers in Moscow to US President Donald Trump. Take a look.
Russia unleashes a crippling wave of attacks across Ukraine. Missiles, drones and bombs are dominating the skies. Moscow launches a massive drone attack on Ukraine's Black Sea port of Odessa, triggering fires and damaging many apartments. Ukraine says Russian forces targeted Zaporizhia with guided bombs, destroying several residential complexes and an educational institution. Glide bombs have been a weapon of choice for Russian forces. Ukrainian forces devised a strategy to jam these glide bombs, making them lose their precision strikes. But now Russia has introduced an upgraded variant of its UMPK glide and navigation kit for unguided bombs, making them even deadlier. Russia is bombarding the Ukrainian forces in its Kursk region. Ukraine says Russia launched 1 anti-ship cruise missile, 2 anti-radar missiles and 96 attack drones, impacting Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk and Cherkasy. President Zelensky proposes Moscow to end attacks on civilian targets. He says Ukraine is ready for any form of discussion to achieve it.
Ukraine maintains its proposal not to strike at least civilian infrastructure, and we are expecting a clear response from Moscow. We are ready for any conversation about how to achieve this. There is an obvious, simplest and most reliable path to stop missile and long-range drone attacks and long-range drone strikes, which would automatically ensure the protection of all civilian infrastructure. A ceasefire, real and lasting, must be the first step towards a reliable and enduring peace.
President Putin says Russia is open to direct talks with Kyiv, but wants to analyze Ukraine's proposal. He accuses Kyiv of using civil infrastructure sites for military purposes.
On the Ukrainian proposal for a ceasefire on civilian infrastructure. That needs to be figured out. This is a subject to be examined, maybe through bilateral dialogue. We don't rule that out. So we will analyze all of this and make the appropriate decisions.
Kremlin is now scouring for incentives it believes can catch and hold President Donald Trump's attention. It has tasked officials and experts with analyzing and identifying all possible incentives that will keep the talks to a limited agenda. Russia is considering the possibility of reviving plans for a long-dreamed-of Trump Tower in Moscow to reset ties with US. The 150-story skyscraper project stands out for its potential to be launched quickly. Reports say Kremlin is focusing on speed, effect, and spectacle, everything that Trump values. With few remaining levers, Moscow sees the war in Ukraine as its most potent bargaining chip, and officials hope to take advantage of Trump's eagerness to secure a ceasefire. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
And with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere. This is World DNA. We will be back on the other side. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Delhi, cutting short his 2-day straight visit to Saudi Arabia. And this is after the devastating, heinous terror attack in Pelgam, which killed 27 people.
The International Monetary Fund has sharply lowered its global growth and trade forecasts in its latest World Economic Outlook. We'll be bringing you the details on this on the other side as well.
Catch me on Token Money Magnet as I demystify tokenization for you, only on WION.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Of course, lots lined up for you on this side of the show as well. Our top focus being that heinous attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pelgam. We'll be bringing you all the updates on that. Let's start by looking at the headlines first.
Indian Prime Minister holds meeting with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval on the Pahalgam terror attack. Minutes after his arrival in New Delhi, he cut short his state visit to Saudi Arabia in the wake of the attack in Pelgam that killed 27 people, including 2 foreigners.
US President Donald Trump condemns the terror attack in Pelgam in a phone call with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, promises full support to India to bring to justice the perpetrators of the heinous attack.
The Israel military says it most likely intercepted a missile which was launched from Yemen following alarms in several areas in the country.
Iran says technical expert level nuclear meeting with the US postponed to Saturday, coinciding with the third round of indirect talks mediated by Oman.
Reports say Vladimir Putin has offered to halt Russia's invasion of Ukraine on the current front line, indicating his willingness to withdraw Moscow's claims to parts of Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson and Zaporizhia.
Elon Musk announces he will significantly scale back his work in the Trump administration in May to focus on Tesla after the electric vehicle maker reports 71% drop in the first quarter profits.
British Steel halts plans to lay off thousands of workers, and this comes after the government secured the raw materials necessary to keep the steel-making blast furnaces running.
KL Rahul gets his redemption in Lucknow. The 33-year-old scored an unbeaten 50 to help Delhi Capitals beat Lucknow Super Giants by 8 wickets in the Indian Premier League.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Delhi, cutting short his 2-day state visit to Saudi Arabia after a terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pelgam.
मेहमानों का कत्लेआम बंद करो, बंद करो। इंसानियत का कत्लेआम बंद करो, बंद करो। इंसानियत का कत्लेआम बंद करो, बंद करो। हम हिंदुस्तानी हैं, हिंदुस्तान हमारा है। हम हिंदुस्तानी हैं, हिंदुस्तान हमारा है।
The Prime Minister was originally scheduled to return to India on Wednesday night. Upon his arrival, the Prime Minister was briefed by National Security Advisor Ajit Doval on the Pelgam attack.
Prime Minister Modi is expected to hold the meeting of Cabinet Committee on Security to review the situation in Jammu and Kashmir.
Earlier, Union Home Minister Amit Shah, who is currently in Srinagar to take stock of the situation, briefed the Prime Minister as well. The Prime Minister has asked Amit Shah to take all suitable measures to visit Pelgam. The Home Minister is likely to visit Pelgam today.
Now, in the worst terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir in recent times, a group of terrorists dressed in fatigues opened fire on tourists in Pahalgam's Baisaran meadow around 2:30 p.m. local time on Tuesday. Gunshots were heard, with witnesses saying that terrorists walked out of the woods and started firing indiscriminately. Visuals from the site of the attack showed bodies lying motionless on the ground and women pleading for help.
किसी चीज का डरने का नहीं, हम साथ में आपको किसी को क्या हुआ है, आपने क्या देखा है यहाँ पे, अपने आप बोले ना मुझे
क्या बोलते भेलपुरी खा रही थी, मेरा पति साइड में था, एक इंसान आया उसने उसको गोली मार दी
यहाँ पे,
उसने बोला कि शायद मुस्लिम नहीं है, उसने उसको गोली मार दी।
नहीं आप टेंशन मत लो, अब बेटा आप यहाँ पे रहो, हम साथ में।
Military choppers were pressed into service for the evacuation of those injured in the attack, as the area is only accessible on foot or horseback. Security forces cordoned off the area soon after the attack and an anti-terrorist operation was launched. Sources said investigating agency NIA is likely to take over the probe into the terror attack, while Jammu and Kashmir Police has launched emergency help desk for the tourists.
An officer from the Navy and another from the Intelligence Bureau were killed in the attack, while 2 foreign tourists and 1 local resident of Anantnag in Kashmir have also been killed.
भारत माता की जय,
भारत माता की जय, भारत माता की जय,
भारत माता की जय।
5 tourists from Maharashtra lost their lives in the attack. 3 of them were from Thane's Dombivali area, including a senior section engineer from the Central Railway, Atul Mone.
The district administration has issued helpline numbers to help Thane residents who are stuck in Kashmir after the attack. Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde spoke to Union Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu to make arrangements to bring these tourists back to Maharashtra. 2 people from Karnataka, 1 from Shivamogga and another from Bengaluru were among the tourists who died, who were killed in this terrorist attack. And a victim identified as Bharat Bhushan was shot dead by the terrorists, while his wife Sujata and their 3-year-old son, they were spared. Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah dispatched teams of officers to Jammu and Kashmir.
Local residents in Jammu and Kashmir held candlelight march mourning the loss of innocent lives in the terror attack in Pelgam.
यात्रा जो आती थी हमारे मेहमान बन के आते थे, हम लोग यात्रियों को अपने घर के फैमिली मेंबर।
Several organizations have called for a complete shutdown in Jammu to protest the killings in Pelgam, while schools will remain closed today.
Delhi is on alert after the terror attack. Delhi police has been instructed to keep a close watch on tourist places and other important places. Security has been heightened at religious sites in Uttar Pradesh as well. Now, eyewitnesses who escaped the terror attack narrated their ordeal. Listen to this.
वो हमें ना बैठा था ने तो एक पहला फायरिंग आया, दूसरा आया, तीसरा आया, सब भाग था गया। પછી फायरिंग बहुत हो गया, एक दरा दबा दबी हम भागने दिए ये अड़ी गया।
यानी दरवाजे पे थे बिल्कुल, जहाँ पे आखिरी में निकलते और घोड़े पे बैठते हैं ना, तो हमारे जैसे निकल ही रहे थे तो वहाँ पे दरवाजा निकलने का बहुत छोटा सा था और पब्लिक बहुत थी। तो हम जैसे निकले, मैंने मिसेस को आगे निकाला, घोड़े में वहाँ पे कीचड़ दी और पीछे से गोलियां कंटिन्यू चलने लगी बहुत। तो पब्लिक एकदम से बहुत आई और पब्लिक ने हमको धक्का दी, तो मैंने मिसेस को तो बाहर निकाल दिया था, मेरा बेटा फंस गया था। फिर हमने उसको भी निकाले और गोलियां इतनी चल रही थी कि कोई किसी को नहीं देख रहा था, लोग एक दूसरे के ऊपर से जा रहे थे, हम भी जंगल में कूद गए।
ऐसे लग रहा था कि बस अभी 1 मिनट के अंदर अगर नहीं पहुंचते तो हम भी अभी यहाँ पे नहीं होते थे। गेट के बिल्कुल लोग दौड़ रहे थे पीछे से, तो हम उनको देख के सीधा कूद गए और वहाँ पे जहाँ पे पानी या घोड़े चलते हैं ना, इतनी गैप भी थी, वहाँ पे हम कूद गए अपनी जान बचाने के लिए।
And the Indian Prime Minister, as we mentioned earlier, just to give a brief understanding of the situation as of now, the Indian Prime Minister cut short his visit to Saudi Arabia. He is in New Delhi now. The cabinet meeting is to be held. He will be interacting with NSA, Ajit Doval and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on the situation in Pelgam. As far as the Home Minister is concerned, he will be visiting the region where the meadow is, Baisaran, And this is the region where Baisaran is where the attack took place. And as our correspondent Idris Loan had explained to us, the region is on a hilltop of sorts. It's a meadow as such, and the vehicles cannot reach that location. People and tourists, they take horses to the region, leaving their cars behind, and they go up on foot to enjoy the beautiful scenery. That is where the terrorists stepped out of the woods, the heavy jungle that is there, the dense forest, and opened fire. And of course, reactions have come in and responses have come in from world leaders across, from President Donald Trump to Russian President Vladimir Putin. World leaders have unequivocally condemned this terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pelgam, in which 27 tourists have been reportedly killed.
US President Donald Trump strongly condemned the terror attack in a phone call with the Indian Prime Minister and expressed full support for India to bring to justice the perpetrators of this heinous attack. Calling the attack deeply disturbing, Trump said that the US stands strong with India against terrorism and prays for the souls of those lost and for the recovery of the injured.
Russian President Vladimir Putin also minced no words in condemning the Pahalgam terror attack. In a letter addressed to Prime Minister Modi and President Draupadi Murmu, President Putin said this brutal crime has no justification and Russia expects that its organizers and perpetrators will face deserved punishment. Putin added that Russia is committed to increasing cooperation with Indian partners to combat terrorism in all its forms and manifestations.
Meanwhile, the Ukrainian embassy in India, said that they endure the loss of life from terrorism daily and firmly condemn terrorism in all its forms, stressing that the perpetrators should be held accountable. Ukraine says when innocent people are murdered, it brings unbearable pain.
Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman also conveyed his condolences, stating that Saudi Arabia stands with India and is ready to offer any needed support. Prime Minister Modi, who was in Saudi Arabia at the time of the attack, cut short his visit, is now in India. The bilateral meeting between Indian Prime Minister and Saudi Crown Prince began with the condemnation of the attack.
The meeting began with the reference to the unfortunate terror attack that has happened in India. Both the leaders expressed their condemnation for the terror attack. His Royal Highness Crown Prince conveyed his condolences and sympathies and offered any help in this regard to us.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he is deeply saddened by the barbaric terrorist attack in Pelgam, adding that Israel stands with India in its fight against terrorism. Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar condemned the attack and expressed solidarity. Neighboring Iran also offered its condolences to the people of India, particularly to the families of the victims, and wished for the speedy recovery of those injured.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer wrote on social media that the horrific terrorist attack in Kashmir is utterly devastating.
And for more on this, WION special correspondent Idris Loan is joining us live from Srinagar. Idris, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, you showed us the area earlier as well. From what we are expecting, Union Home Minister Amit Shah is expected to visit Pelgam as well. What can you tell us?
Well, right now I'm at the police control room in Srinagar. As you can see, there's a lot of movement here of the Jammu and Kashmir policemen as well as the paramilitary forces. We've been told that all the bodies of the victims from yesterday's attack have been basically kept in the police control room. Their relatives who were along with them have also been brought here. We've also got a schedule of the flights for 25 dead bodies which will be shifted from the PCR to the Srinagar airport just in a while, and they'll be taken to their resident states. What we're also hearing from our sources is that the Home Minister who's in Srinagar is most likely going to come and visit the police control room and meet with the families who've lost their loved ones in the attack. As you can see, the whole Srinagar has been put on high alert. Not only Srinagar, but different parts of the Kashmir Valley have been put on high alert. Security forces on the ground, the number of the security personnel on the ground have also been increased. We're also getting news from the line of control. In North Kashmir's Uri sector, there has been an infiltration bid which has been foiled by the Indian Army just a while ago. They've said that a group of militants was trying to infiltrate into the Kashmir territory. They suspected the movement and started firing on them. The gunfight still on, operation still on. Security forces believing that there were 2 to 3 militants who were basically trying to infiltrate into the Kashmir territory. There are unconfirmed reports which have not been confirmed by the Indian Army that there was a ceasefire violation in the Poonch sector as well. Pakistan Army has fired towards the Indian post in the Poonch sector. However, the Indian Army is yet to confirm on that. So it seems like the borders which have been kept on high alert, there's movement on the borders as well as if we talk about various districts of the Kashmir Valley as well as in Jammu, security has been put on high alert. We're being told that the National Security Advisor has also briefed the Prime Minister about the current situation across Jammu and Kashmir, especially with regard to yesterday's attack. Now, what we are waiting for is that the bodies that have been kept at the police control room in Srinagar will be basically taken to the airport and dispatched to their resident states in different flights that will be taking off from the Kashmir.
Yeah, Idris, now what happened in Pelgam, as we're still coming to terms with what needs to be done on that, from what I've just gathered, from what you've shared with us, there is an infiltration bid which was foiled in Uri and also a confrontation which is carrying on in Poonch. Can you give us a better understanding? Is this a multi-front attack that is kind of taking place, or at least that is being planned, a ceasefire violation as well, all happening in a span of within 24 hours?
Because of course from where what happened yesterday, the situation only seems to have turned more volatile based on what you're telling us right now.
Well, absolutely. Looking at the situation, it seems like not only the interior areas of the Kashmir division, but also the borders have been kept on high alert as there has been movement on the borders with regard to North Kashmir in Uri. As I said, the Indian Army has confirmed that there was a group of militants which were trying to infiltrate into the Kashmir territory. The security forces who are basically posted on the line of control saw the suspicious movement, and there was a gun battle which started between the militants and security forces on that front. The operation is still in progress, but the militants were not able to infiltrate into the Kashmir territory. On the other hand, the news coming in from Poonch district, where an unconfirmed report, because the army has not confirmed it yet, but from our sources we've heard that the Pakistani troops basically fired towards the Indian Army's post on the forward post of the Poonch border as well. It does seem, Shivan, that after the statements that have come from the Pak Army chief just a week ago, after that the situation in the Kashmir Valley seems to have taken a turn, especially if we talk about the militant attack that took place in Baisaran yesterday. We've seen these kind of attacks on security forces in the Jammu belt, especially in the Rajouri-Poonch belt, where there have been multiple attacks in the last 6 months in that area, where these militants basically used to come down from these dense forests, attack on security forces and then go back into the dense forest. Some of those attacks did take place in the recent weeks as well. This is a similar kind of attack that has taken place yesterday in the Baisaran area, but for the first time ever, the civilian population, the tourists were made victims of these attacks. And it was a targeted attack because the militants did know that it's a very touristy place. They called out the tourists separately and then shot them.
No, it was an absolutely heinous attack, the likes of which we have not seen anywhere in recent times. The security forces have been targeted time and again, but to target unarmed civilians who are there as tourists, and it's a tourist location, so they were clear where they wanted to attack and who they wanted to kill in this point. You're also mentioning the ceasefire violation. Again, we like to reiterate that that's an unconfirmed report at this point in Poonch, and also a foiled incursion that was taking place in Uri. So that means even after all these statements that have come in from leaders across the world, and the Indian Prime Minister coming right back to India, cutting short that state visit, still these incursions are taking place. Can you give us a timeline on what time exactly this incident in Uri and Poonch had taken place, just to understand, did it happen after these reactions had come in? So there seems to be no stopping, regardless of how strongly India is now condemning this attack?
Well, absolutely. The Uri incident has just taken place just a while ago. The Indian Army has also tweeted, it is this morning that a group of militants basically from across the border were trying to infiltrate into the Kashmir territory, and the suspicious movement was seen by the Indian Army, and they foiled that, basically that infiltration.
Yes.
But at the moment, they've also said that the operation is still on. The firing is still on, so the operation is ongoing. On the other hand, we've also heard the news that was coming from the Poonch, which has not been confirmed by the army, but from the army sources, that there was firefight. There was firing from the Pakistani army side towards the Indian army post this morning, early morning today only. So both the incidents have taken place early today morning after the by-saran attack that took place yesterday in the Pelgam. There seems to be obviously, as the whole security apparatus across Jammu and Kashmir has been put on high alert. We're seeing huge deployment placed all across Kashmir division, especially in Srinagar as well as in the south of Kashmir.
All right, Idris, thanks for getting us the latest on that. This is extremely devastating to hear that regardless of the strong condemnation that has come in from world leaders, apart from the condemnation coming in from the Kashmir Valley and entire India for that matter, even then we are hearing of encounters which are carrying on in Uri and Poonch, and this is within 24 hours of that devastating attack in by-saran in Pelgam. We will be tracking this closely for you. Thanks, Idris, for getting us the latest. Please stay safe while you're there and keep getting us the ground reports as they happen. That was Idris Lone getting us the latest from Srinagar. Now, we'll continue with what's happening in Pelgam at this point for our viewers, because following that terror attack in Pelgam, where gunmen tragically killed at least this is somewhere close to 27 people, which included tourists, an IB official, and also a naval officer and 2 foreigners. Numerous Indian celebrities have also voiced their strong condemnation. Everyone's coming together and condemning this deadly attack.
Right, they've called for swift and decisive action. Akshay Kumar expressed his profound horror on social media, describing the attack on innocent people as sheer evil, offering prayers for the victims' families.
Condemning the incident, actor Ram Charan said he's shocked and saddened by the terror attack in Pelgam. Such incidents have no place in our society and should be strongly condemned. My prayers are with the families of those affected. Then Vivek Oberoi also joined the chorus of condemnations, expressing his deep shock and anger at the senseless violence. He emphasized the need for a united front against terrorism and offered his heartfelt condolences to the families.
Sonu Sood also took to social media, saying cowardly terrorist attack in Pelgam. He stated that terrorism has no place in a civilized world, extended his deepest condolences and prayers for the injured. Sanjay Dutt directed his message towards Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Home Minister Amit Shah and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh insisted that this act can't be forgiven and urged strong retaliation.
Prime Minister Modi himself has acknowledged the heinous act that occurred in Pelgam. He conveyed his commitment to ensuring that the attackers will be brought to justice. On Wednesday morning, the Prime Minister arrived in Delhi, and he has, of course, returned from Saudi Arabia before time, and this is in view of the Pelgam terrorist attack.
Of course, that remains our top focus for the day, but let's shift our focus for now. The International Monetary Fund has sharply lowered its global growth and trade forecast in its latest World Economic Outlook, citing escalating trade tensions and policy uncertainty.
Now, global GDP growth is projected at 2.8% in 2025 and 3% in 2026, down respectively from its January estimates. Global trade growth is expected to slow sharply in 2025, less than half the 3.8% recorded in 2024.
India's GDP forecast has been cut to 6.2% from earlier 6.5%.